Have you ever looked at your to-do list and felt overwhelmed? That's where this week's sponsor, IndaCloud, comes in. It's just a quick edible, and suddenly overwhelmed and spiraling becomes cozy and snacky. So if you're sick of edibles that taste like lawn clippings and hit like chamomile tea, IndaCloud makes THC that's legal and actually works. So whether you're looking for better sleep, need something with a little more kick, or just want some peace and quiet, IndaCloud's got a match that's tested, trusted, and delivered right to your door. If you're 21 or older, grab 30% off your first order, plus free shipping with code Lewis at IndaCloud.co. That's IndaCloud.co, code Lewis.
And now we're in fall. You know what I say? Fall.
This could all go horribly wrong at any minute.
Hello there, and welcome to the 237th edition of Lewis Black's Rantcast, entitled Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement. This week, the Jewish people, and I've always wondered, celebrate is such an odd word to use for a day in which you're atoning. And I do consider myself, part of the Jewish people, but one of the reasons I am not practicing the religion is because of Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement. I tell you who should have been at a temple this week, whether he liked it or not, strapped to a chair, is our president, who should have been atoning for a lot. And I know that there's those folks out there who think that it's really okay for him to just make up shit and do whatever the fuck he wants because he's really the best thing that's ever happened. And no, I mean, that's really pretty much why the Jewish people created that holiday, if you can call it that. I mean, it's such a weird thing to call something that is, it's rough, and it is one long day, and but it is really, it's the kind of thing that they felt was necessary for people to gather together and really kind of go through all of the things that they had done wrong that year and make a commitment to do better as people. And even though the idea is fairly solid in many ways, it didn't work for me. And I will relate to you today why. I'm reading this to you because I wrote this a while back, and it's from Nothing Sacred. And I feel like there's nothing new that I told the story again to a friend this week as we were driving off to play golf, which is what I did on Yom Kippur. That was the way I celebrated. And that is truly a way for me to really self-flagellate and punish myself for, even though I wasn't punishing myself for my sins, it sure felt like it. It always does when I play golf. So the reason I left Judaism is what this could be called, but it's also the religion, not the people. And no, that doesn't mean I'm in favor of Israel's policy, all right? And this has got to stop, okay? That people do not comprehend, okay? That there is a lot of us who are Jewish, who feel that what's occurring there is horrific, and Netanyahu is to blame for it, and Hamas is to blame for it. The people of both those countries are not. They have shit leadership, okay? And then Schmuck is joined by the ghost of Christmas past, Joe Biden, and now the ghost of Christmas future, Donald Trump, and they backed him up. Let's get on with the story. This is my story. It's not that story. But whenever I hit that curve in the road, I just think it's important to point it out to people because it just hasn't been pointed out enough. Shit has been going, okay, just get to the point, Lewis. The point is this. In spite of my grandfather's ambivalence to the Jewish religion, my parents decided to raise my brother and me in the Jewish religion, probably to give us an idea of our cultural heritage. Also, the inescapable Jewish guilt, no doubt, just made them feel obligated to do so. Either way, it worked. There are things about the Jewish religion that I carry with me to this day. Chief among them is Yom Kippur, or the Day of Atonement, as it's so happily called. It had a profound effect on my innocent young mind. The service opens with the organ playing Kol Nidre, one of the spookiest pieces of music ever written. You hear it and are literally surprised that bats and shit aren't flying around. I think Alfred Hitchcock based all of his film scores on it. As the service proceeds, you learn that Yom Kippur is the day that one atones for all of the sins that were committed, that you committed, I would point out, over the past year. This, the rabbi intones, is the day that God puts your name in the book of life or the book of death. Wow. How sweet is that? The book of death? Are you kidding me? That's a hell of a concept for an 8-year-old to deal with. Until then, my own death wasn't something I had even considered. So what flashed across my mind as I recounted my numerous sins, which were conveniently printed in my prayer book, was an aged God with hands trembling as they hovered over the book of death. In one of those arthritic hands, I imagined a pen. And as he got closer to the book, I saw his hand shake ever so slightly and watched as a drop of ink fell to the parchment. I further imagined that God stared at the drop for a moment. And almost as an afterthought, in the most beautiful cursive penmanship, proceeded to write the name Louis Black. In short, the whole idea of a book of death rattled the bars of the little cage that was my existence. I became obsessed with it, and I set out to prevent God from making any mistakes when it came to me. I was going to make sure that I never had another bad thought or did a bad deed, figuring that was all it would take to make God leave me alone. Considering I was just 8, there really wasn't much I could do to stop God from doling out the ultimate punishment. But since I was, in fact, merely 8 years old, I didn't know that. So I came up with a plan. Whenever I had a bad thought, I had to immediately say, "I am sorry, God." I did this for a while, but then I figured it might not be enough. That's when I decided to add, "Please forgive me." This, I thought, was the only way to make sure that God would have to participate. In truth, I hadn't really had very many bad thoughts until I heard about the Book of Death. When I knew of its existence, however, it seemed I couldn't stop having them. I wished ill health on my teachers. I wished that my classmates would flunk their test. I wished that my parents would like me more than they liked my brother. I wished for a lot of bad things. I don't really think I wanted the bad things to happen. I think I just wanted God to know how sorry I could be and maybe give me some extra credit. This lunacy on my part grew in leaps and bounds. It was no longer enough to say, "I'm sorry, God, please forgive me," just once. No, the lunacy on my part grew in leaps and bounds. It was no longer enough to say, "I am sorry, God, please forgive me." To do that just once wasn't enough. No, in just a short period, it became 5 times, and then 10, and then it grew to multiples of 10. I couldn't be sure how much sorry God really wanted from me, and I wanted to give him as much as possible. At first, this was all done in silence, but soon I felt compelled to whisper it, as if God needed to hear me to know that I really meant it. I then continued to embellish my tapestry of prayer. I added an inhale after God and an exhale after me. Soon it became the majority of my life. I was too busy fending off an angry God to worry about spelling, math, or my notebooks. I might as well have been spending all day at the temple, because there I sat in the midst of my class, davening away like an Orthodox Jew. The classmates who sat near me must have thought I was nuts. And I was. My grades began to plummet, and my parents began to worry. I was taken to a counselor. I have no idea what kind of counselor, but he was definitely some sort of adult authority figure. I don't remember him. I just remember stopping the behavior. I was probably more afraid of my parents than I was of God. And therein lies the problem with Yom Kippur. It doesn't take into account the highly vulnerable trigger mechanism of a child with obsessive, compulsive behavior. But Yom Kippur wasn't the end of my religious training. I attended Sunday school until I was confirmed, which meant I went until I was 15. Yeah, I kept going, and I kept having to go back to the Yom Kippur service each year because we were paying for it, and by God, we were going to show up. But that was it. All they had to do was to take me to see some sort of counselor. And there I was, and I knew that I had been caught. And things I had, that was that. That was going to be that. And I had to just stop this bullshit because I had been caught. And so I left once I graduated from basically the 10th grade, which was confirmation. And once I graduated from Sunday school, then that was that. And I walked away. And I went back years later with my friend Tommy Gardner to a suburban synagogue outside of New Haven, Connecticut, Woodbridge, I believe. And that service also, I went back, we both went back to see him. And it was like, that music started, and I couldn't handle it. Could not handle it. And so that's the story of Yom Kippur. I was, years later, after I become a comic, and I made the determination that I would try, and I did for a number of years, when I finally was able to perform in Vegas, that would be where I would spend my Yom Kippur, on stage performing. And I would tell the story and tell them why exactly I was there. To throw the gauntlet down, to show that I'd overcome my fear of God, and or whatever it was I thought I was doing. It was just that enough was fucking enough was enough. And I thought this was a way that I could take a step and move forward with my life. I've never understood it. To this day, I don't understand it. I always thought that the Catholics, I've talked about this in my head, I always thought that the Catholics had a better grip on it. They have this extraordinary thing called confession. You go in there, you tell the priest what you've done, even if you haven't. The priest absolves you of your sins. 10 Hail Marys, move along, okay? I mean, I've always wondered, how they dole those out. I mean, I don't know if the difference between thinking about, sleeping with your neighbor's wife, or thinking about sleeping with a monkey, or sleeping with a monkey. What would be the difference in terms of what the priest would say, how many Hail Marys you'd have to do? I mean, I think if you were sleeping with a monkey, it'd be a lot, but I'm not a Catholic. I don't really know. And that's my story. I will return next week. I am on my way to Chapel Hill, North Carolina, and so I wanted to share that with you. And I will be doing another Rantcast before I get down there, because I want to be sure that that I remember exactly what else happened this past week, because it was loaded. With just speaking to the troops, but we'll talk about that later. And I do hope you enjoy today's Rantcast. I am heading toward Easton, Pennsylvania, October 17th, Williamsport, October 18th. And we're going to be doing live Rantcasts after the show, I'll finish up and then come back and do a live Rantcast that goes throughout the world. So those of you who want, please send in a rant there. And if we don't read it that night, I will hopefully be able to read it at some point down the road. It is always a privilege and a pleasure to spend time with you. And now we're in fall. You know what I say? Fuck fall.
Have you ever looked at your to-do list and felt overwhelmed? That's where this week's sponsor, IndaCloud, comes in. It's just a quick edible, and suddenly overwhelmed and spiraling becomes cozy and snacky. So if you're sick of edibles that taste like lawn clippings and hit like chamomile tea, IndaCloud makes THC that's legal, delicious, and actually works. IndaCloud isn't just another cannabis brand. It's a fully legal online dispensary that's already moved over 10 million gummies, mountains of exotic flower, and enough pre-rolls to get the job done. Every product is tested in DEA certified labs and shipped straight to your door. No sketchy dispensary runs. No guessing what's inside. It's federally legal THC made simple, and that's why more than 50,000 customers already trust IndaCloud to keep their buzz hassle-free. And I find gummies, yes sirree, gummies, keeps me on track when it comes to my sleep. It's help. So whether you're looking for better sleep, want a light social buzz, need something with a little more kick, or just want some peace and quiet, IndaCloud's got a match that's tested, trusted, and delivered right to your door. If you're 21 or older, grab 30% off your first order, plus free shipping with code Lewis at IndaCloud.co. That's IndaCloud.co, code Lewis. 30% off. Free shipping, and snacks suddenly taste like an adult Michelin star meal. Fill out their quick survey when you order to support this show. Then go finish that episode, that game, or that snack you started.
Here's one from April Thomas. It's a quickie, but gets to the point. People over 70 shouldn't have a license anymore. I'm 31, and I know I'll give up my license at 70 because I'm already an asshole on the roads. And I'm definitely not getting better with age. I can understand that, but some folks, I think 75, they can go to. Yes, I do. Depending, and maybe they should give tests if that's what you'd like. But a lot of folks can make it to 75. Many can make it to 80. My father, due to my mother's pushing, drove into his 90s, which he was not fucking happy about. I think he was getting afraid of driving and was losing some sense of space, really. Not his space, but the space with a car. Wow, I have to say. And I quit early too. I mean, I quit before 70, but years before. I think just as I was in my later 60s, I said, fuck this. I am not doing this well. I am not paying enough attention. And I'm experiencing road rage, and I'm not driving. But it was really the not paying attention. I always had that trouble while driving. I've always had a tendency to drift. And it's surprising I wasn't in more accidents. And then I drove in situations, we don't need to go into that. But I understand what you're saying. And it's good, but I bet you won't give it up. It's one of the reason people keep driving, April, I think, is because it gives them power over their life. And I think from what I got a sense of your feelings here, that chances are you'll want that power. Thank you for that. Kind of got me going. Not even in an angry way. Just thoughtful and pensive. Frank Simmons is brought us a piece. He's yelling about something that I haven't heard a lot of people really yell about, not in the rants. So thank you for this, Frank. I'm sure this is a view held by millions of my fellow carbon-based beings. But fuck Siri. This AI douche canoe takes the simplest requests and turns them into a minutes-long exercise in frustration. Voice recognition technology has been around since 2010, yet Siri is still fucking up the most basic sentences. Is it my Midwestern accent? Do I slur my words? Do I mumble? Maybe, but Jesus fucking Christ, the level of frustration in having to repeat myself to some tech whore makes me want to drive into oncoming traffic and maybe relieve the suffering of some other poor bastard who is struggling to get that bitch to find Seahorse Ranch in Mendocino, yet Siri gives him directions to SoFi Stadium in LA. Here is the incident that pushed me over the edge to the point that I'd rather text and drive and run the risk of hitting a tree at 60 miles per hour than talk to that automated twat ever again. Me. Call Polly. Siri. Calling Holly. It's important to note that I do not have anyone in my contact list named Holly. No. Call Polly. Calling Holly. Fuck you. Call Polly. Calling Holly. No. Call Polly with a P. Calling Hollywood a P. At this point, a river of curse words flowed out of me as if I was speaking in tongues, and I suddenly became aware that I was stopped at a red light, violently shaking the steering wheel while screaming, "You cunt! You fucking cunt!" next to a school bus filled with children. Admittedly, not my proudest moment. So I beseech Apple, fix this shit, or I will continue to teach kids in the cars next to me all the swear words. You cunt, you fucking cunt. It's usually when it happens. It's usually when you let it rip. I understand. Oh, boy, do I understand. My friend has a Siri in the car, and it drives me crazy. Wow. Thank you, Frank. Thank you. I wonder if you stopped using it. I bet you still use it. Tina Akinnon. I am an ER triage nurse. I love helping people. They come in thinking their pain will kill them, or so sick they are barely conscious, and we can fix the pain and bring them back to life. That said, we get a lot of dummies in the mix. If you have a doctor's appointment in the afternoon, don't check into the ER in the morning and say you might not make it. Honey, you walked all the way from the parking lot and now you want snacks. Your wait time is going to be tomorrow. I once had a young woman insist her friend needed to be seen immediately. Absolutely, come right in. Friend then announced she had severe 5 severes, I counted, chapped lips. 5 severe chapped lips. Out! Go to the closest drugstore with your emergency and take the grown woman that signed in for a pregnancy test with you. If you want a day off work, suck it up. We all have to make ourselves useful in some way. You want a free pregnancy test instead of paying $10, but this visit will cost the rest of us $500. Honey, you are in the wrong spot, okay? Planned Parenthood will do a pregnancy test and birth control in one shot. I'd love to have heard you go on and on, Tina. Feel free to send back any and all in terms of, wow. I don't know how you folks work the ER, but it's impressive. And the pit, I don't know if you watched that or what you think of it. I'd be interested. Thank you, Tina. Chris Slobodnick. I'm here to lay down the law on one of the most egregious offenses against the English language. A crime so foul, it makes a typo look like a love letter. The absolute bastardization of Emcee into MC? First off, let's get the facts straight. The term MC is an abbreviation. It stands for Master of Ceremonies. 2 words, 2 letters. It's a tidy, efficient, and universally understood designation. It's like saying DJ instead of DJ. You don't see anyone writing J Walker or PC for PC, do you? No, because it's nonsensical. It's an insult to the very concept of abbreviations. So where did this monstrosity MC come from? Someone, somewhere, with too much time on their hands decided to spell out the abbreviation phonetically. But why? We don't spell out TV when we talk about TV. We don't say BS when we're talking about BS. So why in the name of all that is holy would you spell out MC? It's not clever, it's not cute. It's just wrong. It's the linguistic equivalent of wearing socks with sandals. It's a complete lack of respect to the form. MC is a title with history, with gravitas. It's the person who controls the flow of a show, who commands the stage, who keeps the energy up. They are a master of ceremonies, not an MC. The word itself just looks weak and clunky, like a bad imitation. The letters M, C have a sharpness, a snap to them. They're quick, they're clean. MC lumbers along, a 5-letter lump that feels like it belongs in a word puzzle, not a professional setting. Every time I see it written down, a little part of me dies inside. It's a verbal tick that is metastasized into an accepted norm, and we need to put a stop to it. If you're a true fan of language, of clarity, and of not looking like you just learned how to spell, then let's make a pact. Let's reclaim MC. It's MC. It will always be MC. Don't be a part of the problem. Be a part of the solution. Let's put this MC nonsense in the past, where it belongs. Well, Chris, it just amazes me what gets people ticked off, and that's certainly unusual. I mean, you're right, it is the gravitas, but there's not a lot of places where we have a master of ceremonies that much very often, Chris, except the benefits, I think. But thank you for sharing. I just had really never thought about it. But certainly not enough to get that upset, and I'm glad to feel your pain. I don't know if it's going to make a difference, but there'll be a few out there. It's kind of reminded me really of what Master of Ceremonies means. I used to be kind of the Master of Ceremonies at the West Bank. Thanks to all of you for listening to my Rantcast. If you have a rant you want to get off your chest, send it in to me at lewisblack.com/live. You can think of it as therapy, or whatever you want to think of it as. Just let it rip. And I want to thank the true stars of our show, the ranters, and the splendid rants they gave us. Lewis Black's Rantcast was created and hosted by me, Lewis Black. Our live rant audio was produced by James Salter. Our theme song by Chris Lane. Executive producer, Ben Brewer. Executive producers, Matt Kleinschmidt and Robert Kelly.